Hi folks. So the purpose of today's video is to really help you to select minimally processed foods, particularly your breads and flour-based foods. So we're also going to touch a little bit on gluten because I feel like that's really a topic that's a little bit misunderstood. So hopefully by the end, you should be better equipped to read labels and make better choices. So I'm going to share my screen. So the first thing I recommend looking for when you're reading a label is to avoid the term enriched. So basically, let's start here. If we look at a grain of wheat, this is the outer fibrous layer, the bran. And the bran or the fiber is also going to help slow down the digestion of the sugar. So how quickly that sugar hits your bloodstream will in part be determined by how much fiber is in that product. So the endosperm is the starchy interior of the grain. And then you've got the germ. So in this germ is where the omega-3 fats live. All right. So folks that have worked with me know that omega-3 fats tend to be very unstable. They go rancid quickly. They don't lend themselves very well to sitting on a shelf. So food manufacturers that are looking to make a product that has any kind of shelf life will be wanting to get rid of these omega-3 fats first and foremost. So I like to say this is like throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because in the germ, along with the omega-3 fats, are also a whole slew of nutrients. So this list isn't complete because I'm not listing the phytonutrients. There's a bunch of nutrients that are missing on here. But basically, these nutrients all get tossed out with the germ in order to get rid of this omega-3 fat that's very unstable. So then what food manufacturers do is they will enrich the product. And usually it's 5 or 6 synthetic vitamins or nutrients that, and usually they're B vitamins. So things like folic acid, riboflavin, thiamine, niacin, things like that. Okay. So basically, after you've removed the bran and you've removed the germ, essentially what you're left with is the sugar. And, keep in mind that we have evolved as humans, we've evolved with grain, and all of the nutrients that were present in that germ are necessary for us to process this sugar. So that's creating a little bit of problems. So if we look at a label, so this is just your typical white bread. The first ingredient is enriched wheat flour. So sometimes the enriched wheat flour will show up as the second or third ingredient, but I still want you to keep your eyes open for it. Then we've got water, yeast, and you'll see the fourth ingredient in this case is sugar. So that means that there's quite a lot of it, considering that it's the fourth ingredient. Then we've got vegetable oil, and in this case, it's canola or soybean oil. And so these oils tend to be very highly processed and highly refined and highly inflammatory. Okay, so they have great shelf life, but not great for your body. Then we've got gluten. So we're going to touch on gluten in a few moments. We've got salt, vinegar, and then we've got the unpronounceables. So this just kind of gives you an idea of maybe what you want to stay away from. Now, if we talk about gluten, gluten has been around as long as grain has been around. So gluten's been, part of our diet for thousands of years. However, there really is a true phenomenon going on where folks are more sensitive to gluten. So let me just start by saying the gluten is the protein fraction of certain grains, so specifically wheat, rye, or barley. There is no gluten in corn. There's no gluten in oats or rice. Gluten is also kind of as the name implies, a binding agent. So, um, and the other thing that gluten does is gluten will impart a really nice mouthfeel to baked goods. So if you think of pizza or if you think of bagels, it's the gluten in those products that actually give it that delicious kind of doughy, chewy texture. So food manufacturers know that humans really love this. We love this, I guess, mouthfeel. So that would be the reason why gluten was added in that bread that we just looked at, that label that we just looked at. So the first thing, in my opinion, so the gluten is there's several factors that come into play. One of the things is that wheat is a subsidized crop. So what that means is that farmers will get paid for their crop one way or another. So what that means is also that we have these huge stores or stockpiles of wheat. So food manufacturers have access to this really affordable binding agent called gluten, and because of all of this wheat that's around. So this gluten is being used as a binding agent in all kinds of processed or transformed foods. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that modern varieties of wheat have been hybridized and the end result of that is that there's more gluten in our modern wheat compared to older varieties such as spelt or kamut, for example. Okay. And the third thing is that most modern, I shouldn't say modern, most conventional wheat is sprayed with glyphosate. And glyphosate is the active ingredient in a product called Roundup. So some of you may be familiar with Monsanto and the product Roundup. So basically, the farmers are spraying the glyphosate on the crop before harvest in a process called desiccation, or desiccating. So they do this to kind of speed up the harvesting process. But the end result is that all conventional or most conventional wheat has been touched with this Roundup. Okay, so those are some of the elements that could be coming into play as to why so many people are reacting to gluten and what this whole gluten story is about. So basically, it's present in a ton of different products. It is the actual grain is boosted and has much higher levels of gluten than ancient varieties. And the third thing is that we've got this glyphosate. So basically, my top tips for selecting a good quality bread is obviously, looking for the enriched, or to avoid the enriched, I should say. Another good choice for bread is always to look for something that's sourdough. So the sourdough process is a fermentation process that will just increase the digestibility of the bread and unlock a lot of the nutrients. The other thing that you can look for is a sprouted grain bread. So the sprouting process also really helps with digestibility. And preferably look for an organically sourced, wheat, so that you're not getting this glyphosate. So I hope this has been helpful, and you can get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you.